couple of songs.
I'm gonna sit down.
And then I'm gonna end off with a poem, and we'll start the march.
All right. I'm gonna play at the end too, right?
Yeah.
All right. Then I'm gonna start out with the first song I ever played on Preble Street, which I wrote it. I wrote this one, Homeless in Old Orchard Beach. It's called Dreams. I had more than I ever dreamed. Big old houses and beauty queens. Lots of drugs and brand new cars. Sets of drums and electric guitars. Lost it all in my dignity. What I didn't lose was taken from me. Guess you could say my dreams weren't meant to be. Dreams are funny little things that we sometimes choose to share. Chase your dreams, they can't take you anywhere. Wasn't ready for the dreams I had. I know I could have been a better dad. Could have worked more and partied less. Wish my life wasn't such a mess. Got a couple kids I hardly see, and an ex-wife who don't like me. Guess you could say my dreams weren't meant to be. Dreams are funny little things that we sometimes choose to share. Chase your dreams and they'll take you anywhere. Dreams are funny little things that we sometimes choose to share. Chase your dreams and they'll take you anywhere. Lay my head on my pillow tonight and I pray to God that you're all alright now. This is my dream, this is my prayer. I don't dream big anymore. Can't believe like I did before. And with all that's come and gone, I decided from now on, only dreaming when I sleep gives me the whole damn morning to weep. Well, I've come to find my dreams are mine to keep. Dreams are funny little things that we sometimes choose to share. Chase your dreams and they'll take you anywhere. Lay my head on my pillow tonight and I pray to God that you're all alright now. This is my dream, this is my prayer. This is my dream, this is my prayer. This is my dream, this is my prayer. But I played in a lot colder. In fact, when I first got out here, like, I didn't know what I was coming into. Really, I didn't. And I'd been homeless for a while, but Portland, it was a little different. And I needed something to do out here, you know. Like, I was the only homeless guy in Biddeford for a while. I was the only homeless guy. Or, you know, I mean, well.
Homeless in Biddeford.
You know what I mean? But out here, that wasn't the case, so I needed a gimmick. So I wrote this song, and it's called Cobblestones. It goes like this.
Oh, do it.
Mr. How's your day been? Could you spare $1 or $2? Any little thing would help, and I could play a song for you. See, I wrote this one myself, so it means something to me. And I can play it for you now, cause music's always free. And I thank you for your time, if you heard this song of mine. But you could walk walk away right now, if you were so inclined. I've been on these streets a while, sleeping on bricks and stone, kicking around the waterfront, tripping on cobblestones. And I thank you for your time, if you heard this song of mine. But I'd walk away right now and leave this all behind. Cause I'll wake up in the morning, try and find a bite to eat, possibly a cup of coffee, and I'll be right back on this street. But I thank you for your time, you heard this song of mine. You could walk away right now, brother, could you spare a dime?
Woo!
Well, you want me to do that? We'll do one more.
Yeah, do one more.
Do it. Encore. Encore.
I'm not gonna be able to play it as well as I normally would because my hands are
The
cold right now. I know
ultimate bum song in the world.
Trailers for sailor in, rooms to let for 50 cents. No phone, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes. No stogies I have found. Sure, but not too big around. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road. The Bob midnight train. Destination Bangor, Maine. Low suit and worn out shoes. I don't pay no union dues. Most stogies I have found. Short but not too big around. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road. I know every engine on every train, all the children and all the names, every handout in every town, and every lock that ain't locked when no one's around to sing. Trailers for sailor-in, room to let 50 cents. No phone, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes. Most of the years I have found. Sure, but not too big around. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road.
Okay.
My hand's cold.
Do you want the hammer?
Yeah, I won. And, well, if someone's got one warmed up already, it takes like, well, we're going to be walking, right?
Yeah, I think we're about to start the march.
And now I'd like for you to think about some things before I share this poem.
Thank you for being on.
Think about these cold days, these are even colder nights. The people we've lost, and the people that are still here to fight. Tis a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, to hope, to dream, to be, and oh, to lose. The thing for fools, this, and a holy thing. A holy thing to love. Our life, for your life has lived in me. Your laugh once lifted me. Your word was gift to me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love. What death has touched.
Yeah.
And now I got a question for you all. Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
Now the second line, when I say whose streets, you say Joy Street. Whose streets?
George Street!
Whose streets?
George Street!
Whose streets?
George Street!
Whose streets?
George Street!
Thank you. Yeah. Hey, Jet.
Do we want to start marching?
Yeah!
How's that sound? Everybody else? Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
We're gonna march up Congress, Forest
We're
Ave.
going up Congress Street this way.
Whose streets? Whose streets? Whose streets? Whose streets? Whose streets? Whose streets?
Joy Streets!
Whose streets?
We can go in the road. We're allowed in the road.
Whose streets? Whose streets?
Joy Streets!
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 Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets! 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 Our streets!
Joy Street!
Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Catch up here a little bit.
Joy Street! Whose street? 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 Joy Street! Joy Street! Joy Street! Joy Street!
Hey, you guys slow down. Marcy's coming.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Our streets.
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
Joy Street.
Our streets!
Our streets. 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 When I say
I'm so glad somebody saved that.
you say housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight.
Housing is a human right!
Fight, fight, fight.
Housing is a human right! Housing is a human right! Housing is a human right!
Housing is a human right.
Housing is a human right!
Whose street?
Our streets!
Whose street?
Our streets!
Whose street? Our street. 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 What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like!
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like!
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
Whose street?
Our street.
Fight, fight, fight.
Housing is a human right.
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 Whose street?
Our street.
Whose street?
Our street.
Whose street?
Our street.
Whose street?
Our street.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right. Our streets. Our streets. Our streets.
Hello.
Our streets. Our streets.
Our streets. Our streets. Our streets. Our streets. Our streets.
Our streets! Join streets! Join streets! Join streets!
You have your phone, right?
Yes, in my backpack.
I'll need it later. I texted you my speech.
Okay.
This is what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks
I'm gonna try and get up front.
I love your car!
like. This is what democracy looks like.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Whose street?
Our streets.
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 What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
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 Whose street?
Our streets.
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 Fight, fight, fight!
Housing is a human right.
Fight, fight, fight!
Whose streets? Our streets. Our streets. Our streets. Our streets.
Tell me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like.
What does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
Whose street?
Our streets.
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 Whose street?
Yeah!
Our streets.
Our streets! Housing is a human right! Housing is a human right! Housing is a human right! Housing is a human right!
Housing is a human right. Housing is a human right.
Our streets. Our streets. Our streets. Our streets. Our streets.
When I say whose street, you say Joy Street. Whose street?
Joy Street.
Whose street?
Joy Street.
Whose street?
Joy Street.
Whose street?
Joy Street.
Whose street?
Joy Street.
Whose street?
Joy Street.
Whose street?
Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Joy Streets!
Joy Street. Joy Street. Joy Street. Housing is a human right. 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 Our street. Joy Street. Joy Street. Joy Street.
Oh,
Joy Street. Joy Street.
housing is a human right!
Housing is a human right. Housing is a human right. Joy Street. Joy Street. Joy Street. Joy Street. Joy Street. Joy Street.
Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Joy Streets! Joy Streets!
Our street. Our street.
If you guys are hungry, we're gonna have food up by City Hall in like 20 minutes.
Our street.
Hand warmers and stuff too.
Our street. Our street. Our street. Our street. Our street. Our street. Housing is a human right. Housing is a human right.
Housing is a human right! Housing is a human right! Housing is a human right! Our streets! 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 Whoa, puppy. Human right.
Housing is a human right. Housing is a human right. Joy Street. Joy Street.
Joy Streets!
Joy Street! 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 Joy Street!
Oh no. Okay. Joy Street! my flag's still leaning up against the statue? It's like right there.
Run back to Monument
Yeah, I just walk.
and do what?
Just see if my flag's leaning up against the statue still.
Okay.
I forgot
What
it.
flag? The yellow one?
It's a broom pole with my anonymous and Nyan Cat flag
With,
on it.
with what? Nancat?
Yeah.
Can I ask everyone that's speaking to come to the front, please? George Street! 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 George Street!
Nothing?
No, I haven't gone yet. Cece needs me to take her to a bathroom.
That's fine. Can I have your phone?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Where is it?
Do you want your camera too?
No.
Everybody is standing in solidarity for Joy, who was with
Thank
Joy
you.
and a dear friend to many of us. About 3 weeks ago, she froze to death outside of a gas station here in Portland and was found by a bystander at 2 a.m. and then pronounced dead from exposure. I've lived with Joy at the Florence house for the past 3 years, and I can tell you she lived up to her name. When I was going back to the Florence house for the 4th time, I was across the street waiting to get into a one-night-only bed, freezing my ass off. I was crying and was just going to take a nap because I was so cold and couldn't go in for another 3 hours. Joy came across the street and was like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on? What you doing across here?" And I was like, "Well, just trying to take a nap because I have 3 hours to freeze before I can go into the shelter." And I won't go into the conversation, but I'm going to tell you something. By the end of it, I found Joy. And by the end of it, I was warm that night. And I had a new friend. And Joy would go on to tell that story to everybody she met. Everybody, repeated the same person 20 times. She was just so excited she had met me. To have a new friend, to have someone else that could be a part of her community. Someone else that she knew was also in a rough place in their lives and could understand where she was coming from. Someone else that she knew was a comrade and would be there for her when she needed them. Joy didn't have much, but I'll tell you one thing that she did have. That woman was the most resilient woman I've ever met in my life. Most resilient woman I've ever met in my life, and I've met a lot of resilient people, myself included. But Joy was another story. From the 24-hour food tent volunteer service the first day of the encampment, to those few kind words she shared with me across the street from the Florence house, to any day that I was having a hard time and she would come right up to me and just give me a hug, to Joy picking up cigarette butts right out of the ashtray and me being like, "Yo, just have a real cigarette. You ain't got to smoke that cigarette butt. That's a little shady. You don't want to do that." Any moment she was just a bright light. And let me tell you something. The difference between unhoused people and housed people is that when you guys have a bad day, you guys don't lose your housing. You're not threatened with a CTO. You're not threatened with a bed loss. You're not going to be harassed by the 40 other people that you're living with. It's just not going to happen. When your PTSD acts up, you're going to go into your room and you're going to cry for the day. And you're going to do whatever you need. Maybe buy some Chinese food, some pizza, whatever is your comfort food, that's what you're going to do. And you're going to wait it out. And you're going to call your friends and your community is going to show up. But do you know what it's like for an unhoused person? The opposite of that. None of those things come when you're having a bad day, when there's a PTSD moment. When you're struggling and you're triggered and the shelter is chaos and you're having a bad day, those are the times that you need to shut up and be submissive. Those are the times that you just need to suppress. Whatever PTSD is coming up, whatever very valid anger is coming up for you, you need to suppress it and you need to shut up. And that's how you keep your bed while staying in a shelter. The second piece of that is if you don't have access to a shelter, when you're having a bad PTSD day, you're going to be outside in the cold all day. I know this only applies to people with PTSD, but let me tell you something. Every American has PTSD. All of us do. The system's fucked. So everybody can identify to what that looks like in whatever scale. From here, I want to open it up, and I want to invite speakers to come up and speak. Cody, will you come up here, please? Mind starting us off? No worries.
I'm going to look at my phone while I do this, so don't mind me. Hi, my name is Cody Taylor. I am 19 years old. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm an individual who has experienced chronic homelessness. I'm currently housed, and I'm trying to do what I can as an activist in the community to address the issues we face in our city. And I'd like to give a thanks to everybody who showed up today to make a difference. I have prepared a piece of literature to express what it is like to lose someone close to me who has also experienced chronic homelessness. But before I begin, I'd like to give a 2-minute moment of silence to our precious joy and everyone we lost in 2020 to 2021.
Yeah, I need to borrow Jess's phone if you don't mind asking us so I can read mine.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, and now I'll begin. For me, it was someone I gave $1 to. For me, it was someone who helped me. For me, it was someone who was part of my family. For me, it was someone who knew me. For me, it was someone I knew. And for me, it was someone who made this city what it is. For me, it's not just a number or statistic. For me, it's not just another drug addict. For me, it's not justified. To me, it is not about money. For me, it is not just one less bed taken up. For me, it is not just a loss. For me, it is a reality that I live in that people refuse to face or to exist in. I am not sheltered from the trauma of losing a member of my community. I am frustrated that I even need to express what it is like to lose someone who's part of my community. We're now in 2021. We should not need to protest about the reality of failing our homeless community or our community in general. Absolutely unacceptable. Too many words of grief to describe the quality of this generational error. Thank you for listening to how I feel about losing someone close to me in my community. And thanks again for showing up to make a difference.
Will you film for me while I go?
Yeah. And then my phone's in the car.
Okay, so I'm going to read off my phone too, so bear with me here. I had a rush of inspiration a couple months ago. A couple nights ago, not a couple months ago. So basically, this is what I've got. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All people are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted by the people, deriving their just powers from the consent of the people. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter it, laying its foundation on such principles that seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. These are the first lines penned when our founding fathers declared their independence from the tyranny of England. Written years before the Bills of Rights, they spoke about the importance of things like safety, happiness, and more importantly, the right to live. When public shelters turn our community members away, is that keeping them safe? When police officers paid with our money then destroy their camping gear, how about that? Do we protect life by denying access to food, bathrooms, health care, and case management? Do we protect life by denying evidence-based practices like overdose prevention sites and no barriers access to things like naloxone? When our rental market is so pricey that the majority of residents are food and housing insecure, is that preserving their happiness? Or is happiness warehousing human beings on mats in an overcrowded building? Do we ensure all people are treated equal by allowing housing discrimination to run rampant in our city? When people who use drugs are criminalized for choices that do not harm other human beings, is that what liberty looks like? How about warrantless searches simply because you have nowhere to go? When our friends freeze to death outside, is that how we keep them safe and happy? Is our city really protecting any of us, or are they really hurting everyone and sending us the bill? Did we, the governed, consent to the policy choices that have caused this harm? Is this what we elected them to do? See, when it comes to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, our municipal government has become destructive to these ends. At least 64 people have died in this past year. Those deaths could and should have been prevented. A government that prioritized its residents and strived to preserve life would not create or perpetuate the conditions that caused this. That hypothetical government would not continue forcing 88 people to sleep outside in freezing temperatures while they were aware of these same statistics. When we say housing is a human right, we say this because each day in this nation, beloved humans die because they are denied access to housing. This occurs in a nation with over 30 empty homes per unhoused resident. Housing is life, and homelessness should not exist. We are on year 2 of a pandemic, and our city can't even figure out how to ensure nobody has to sleep outside. When we say people who use drugs don't deserve to die, we mean that. These humans too have a right to live, and it is the responsibility of the people that we elected to ensure this. Overdose fatalities can be prevented, and there is no reason anyone should freeze to death in Portland. Our coalition has vehemently advocated to change these policies, and nothing has happened. Our community held space on these very steps for over 2 weeks last summer, demanding compassion and change. It seems to have fallen on deaf ears. Coronavirus resulted in creating a shelter voucher program. Why then, with this in addition to multiple shelters, has our city still not managed to ensure everyone has a place inside to sleep? Today we're here demanding justice for Joy. Many knew her better than myself and loved her dearly. She'll always be remembered as such a vibrant soul. Joy was more than a statistic. She was our friend and our family. Her memory also will never fade from our hearts. I also want to speak today on another community member that we recently lost. I'd known a dear friend, Ashlea, for years, and I'd worked most of my life with her uncle. I can recall countless times doing outreach by the Oxford Street shelter, seeing her sleeping on the sidewalk. I'd often bring her food and tuck her in with an extra blanket before we left. See, the city-run shelter wouldn't let her inside, despite her literally begging for help. She passed away in a hotel the night of a bad blizzard. Even then, the same shelter denied her access inside. And it wasn't GA that put her in that hotel, it was Amistad. This same night, police officers were ordering unhoused residents to take their tents down in the storm, who still were also not allowed inside the shelter. Now, why do I highlight these stories? Because it must be stated that these experiences are not uncommon in our city. This happens to our youth, our seniors, our vets, and our disabled. Frequently. I started off talking about a government that's destructive to our residents' basic human rights, life and happiness. A government that fails to uphold the basic tenets of its own creation. They govern by our consent, with our power. Today we might not correct this entire system, but we can demand that our residents' basic human rights are respected. I do not consent to systematic oppression, state-sanctioned violence, or blatant austerity in times of unprecedented income inequality. I will fight this system until it's not necessary anymore. But today, I demand one thing, that nobody be forced to sleep outside in my city. Our city can achieve this now, and failing to do so is a dereliction of duty. There is a wave of evictions looming, renters are cost-burdened, and 50 million Americans just lost their health insurance. Food pantries can barely keep up. It is clear that systematic change is needed, but do our unhoused community members deserve to die while we fight for that? Absolutely not. Portland loves our unhoused, BIPOC, and LGBTQ community members. Their lives matter. Our city must reduce as much harm as possible right now and stop causing it. Instead of further marginalizing communities, it's their job to ensure our city is equitable for everyone. I don't want to see my neighbors suffer. I want to see them thrive. So to end this on a positive note, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. It's cold, and it means so much that each one of you chose today to lead with love and show up when it mattered. We have so much work to do, and I want to share my hope with you all. We can do this, and we will. Step by step, a day at a time, we will do what must be done. We will be the light in these dark times, and it's truly an honor to be standing with you all. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak and remind you all how powerful each one of you are. Each person here is capable of making such a big impact, and never let anyone convince you otherwise. I'd like to ask everyone to please join our coalition in pressuring the people that we elected to guarantee that nobody will be forced to sleep outside this winter. There are ample ways to achieve this. They must act now. Again, thank you very much. Never give up. We are the people we've been waiting for. We are the change that we've been seeking.
Okay. I don't know who's next.
Stacey, like a few words to say.
Hello everybody, my name is Cece and I I was a youth in homelessness that fought during the encampment. I don't know if some of you saw my face, and I came out today because the fact that we are having to do this all over again and we only got one thing fixed, which was the pro state that we had to do twice. We had to get that put through twice. It's kind of sickening because people didn't want our kind in their community. The thing is, if this place, right here, all the people inside of it that we put in here, actually listened to anything that we were saying and didn't make decisions on their own, without the people that they're working for, then we wouldn't have this issue and we wouldn't have to come out here now saying that we have lost members of the community due to freezing outside. Why is freezing outside a thing that is even possible right now? The fact that there are buildings here that have open spots everywhere are unavailable to the people. Shame! Shame! This needs to stop now. People aren't going to die in the streets anymore because of their immaturity to do what they need to do. We have the resources, we have the buildings, we have the homes, we have the places where people can be warm and not have to literally sit outside a gas station and die. When is that going to happen? How many more protests have to happen before somebody actually gets like, oh, people are dying in my city, I should do something about that? How many more people are going to starve to death before they start putting out more resources that they have the money for? We don't need more parking garages. We need more places for people to go in, be warm. With COVID and everything, there's nothing available for us. There's nothing available. At the shelter, the teen shelter, I don't remember which blizzard was, but it was a recent blizzard. They left us outside for 10 extra minutes because they wanted to go in and warm them up themselves. The staff left us outside while kids were crying outside, wanting to be let in because their hands, they couldn't feel them. That's sickening. You take away our resources because of COVID, but at the same point, then you're just like, oh, we're fine. We don't have to worry about it. You have to worry about it because soon enough, it's going to go through their heads that people are dying. And I'm not going to let that stand anymore, so we're going to keep doing this until they can fucking get it through their heads that people are dying and that needs to stop. Right. We didn't choose this life.
Christine.
I don't really know how this thing works, but I just wanted to say small things to people because, like, we need this. Yeah, when my son asked me to come to the first protest, I was a little unsure about whether I was going to come or whether I was going to make a difference. But Joy was one person in my mind that I was thinking, well, who was going to be here? You know, and I was like, I hope Joy is going to be here because she was one person that made a difference when I came to Portland and I was homeless. She came to me and she talked to me. She had some really nice things to say. It was like she welcomed me into this homeless community as a person. And she made me feel really well. And I'm sad that she passed on, but I feel like I've learned from Joy because like she helped us all become who we are. You know, just a little person made a big difference in me and my son, and I just wanted to share that with everybody that like I came here because I wanted to help to make a difference. And Joy was here to make a difference, and I'm just glad that we're trying to make a difference in this city, and I'm glad of that. Like, this is all I wanted to say was like, you know, we're here to make a difference. Sorry.
Next is Arturo.
Yeah, Arturo.
So the button is right down here, and you just want to hold it like that. Yeah. Here. And then you're going to press that button.
Hello. How are you folks doing? Oh, awesome. Woo! Yeah, my name is Artur Kaptilinin, and I'm originally from Mother Russia. I've been here since the 90s. Yes, and I was homeless in the 90s. And because I'm a straight white man, you know, things were available for me, you know, and I went to get the services, and so I'm grateful for that. But as it was said before, there's a lots of people for whom my services are not available, so that's messed up. And you know, the speaker earlier was saying how many people needs to be died in order for us to wake up. And I guess the number I hear, they want 1 million people dead for whatever reason. It was COVID-19 or wars or population control. You know, we have to be mindful. There is a battle going on against the human spirit, against humanity. And it goes through wars, it goes through big pharmaceutical industries, you know. They don't want you to get better, they don't want you to stay healthy. They want to pump you full of drugs so you can live a little longer, you know, so they can milk money from you. So we're not going to put up with this stuff. We're going to keep the language nice and positive, because language is a virus. For people out there who want to be cool and they swear, that's not the way to go. That's demonic energy, you know. As soon as you say the F word, the N word, or the Russia word, you know, because I'm a Russian-American citizen, proud of my heritage, and I get to put up with all kinds of shit. Excuse my language, sorry. I'm contradicting myself, yeah. So I'm not going to put up with this whole fear-mongering, you know, because we are proud human beings. We're made in the image of God, right? Here we are. Let's hear for us. Right on, brothers and sisters. I love you all. Stay strong and know that we're being protected by the higher forces. The higher civilizations are out there watching for us. They're not allowed to get involved because we have to do the work ourselves. And work starts from the heart. Just like the Michael Jackson song, you know, start with the man in the mirror. Start with the person in the mirror, you know. We are the change. So that's all I wanted to have to share with you. Power of human potential. Sign up for the yoga class, sign up for the meditation class. They have deals, you know, they want to help people. We're the light workers of the universe. Yes. And screw those who want to oppress us. Human spirit is alive. We have already won. The light forces has won. Because you can see the dark energy, the demons, demonic, you know. Oh, it's gonna get worse, prepare for the worse, you know. They're gonna just chase you like a mammal, but we're not mammals. We love our brothers and sisters like animals in the world, you know. Watch them, watch how they react. What do? They take care of themselves. You know, statistically, there's no other creature on this planet that kills its own. You know, the shark wouldn't kill another shark. The bear wouldn't kill another bear. Because intuitively they know, wait a minute, if I kill my own, there's nothing of us left. So, but it's not the way, you know, these dark forces want us divided and conquered. They want to divide us between Republicans and Democrats, you know. Gaza straight or whatever, you know. Islam or whatever, you know. Here we are. And we have to give the respect to the police force because they are the protectors. I know they can be brutal sometimes, but we all have to be decent and we all have to be connected with each other. So, you know, if shit hits the fan, are you gonna call Ghostbusters? No, you're gonna call 911. You know, so, yeah, that's what I want to share with you. So remember that, we're made in the image of God. Everything is possible. We can live 256 years old. This Chinese fellow lived once. He was born in 16
77 and he died in 1933. Wow, yeah, try to think that in your brain. So, where possible, things are going to turn around. Stay connected to your heart. Love each other. Wow, we've got lots of action going on there. So, thank you so much, and don't buy into fear. You know, they'll be homeless. But they'll be homeless right now, but they're not gonna be homeless. You know, like if you watch Star Trek, in the future they have the world without any wars. You know, it's all peaceful. They have the world without money. I mean, money is important, but it's important to share the money, to spread the wealth. And what happened to the freaking Bernie Sanders? Oh no, they're not gonna allow him to be president. It's too much, you know? Yeah, no. You know? So yeah, just keep that in mind if you're searching for the answer. Look for Jesus, look for Buddha, look for Muhammad. They're all good people. They come from Earth, you know? The religion is out there. We're all connected. Thank you so much. I love you. Woo! One more thing. Turn your heart light on. You have the power. You have the power. Awesome. I love you, brothers and sisters. And now back to microphone.
Thank you so much. You're great.
Thank you. Woo.
Great public speaker.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great public speaker.
Yeah, thank you. Woo.
I'm kind of nervous. Also, like,
Jess, I'm right here.
okay.
You got this.
When I didn't know Joy that well, I'll be honest with you, I stayed at the shelter with her a few times. I remember she was really boisterous and funny, and like, I wanted to talk about my experience personally. There shouldn't be people like me and Jess up here, because by the time people like me and Jess are up here, people end up dead. That's what happens. So you guys should be fighting for us, the people who are housed up and shit. We should not have to do that. Our daily struggle is having to survive day after day after day. I'm to a point where I'm completely you know, you probably see homeless individuals on the street and they seem so aggressive and angry and mean, and it's because they have to deal with it day after day after day. At a certain point, you just stop giving a shit, dude. And we do have masks. We have to have masks. We have to protect ourselves. It's the only way to survive through this shit, you know? If PHC hadn't have found me a couple months ago, I don't know where I'd be, because I have been on and off the street since I was a teenager. I'm tired. And, people are going to continue dying. There's a man, I don't know if you people are aware of it, but there's a man on the street at the moment attacking prostitutes, mainly, right, working girls and shit. Women are gonna end up dead very, very, very soon if somebody doesn't do something about it. I mean, I know you probably see us as invisible, most of us, you know, the ones that aren't all dressed up nice and shit, but you know, the natty daddy dudes and the people that have been in it for 40 years, they deserve help too, dude. Just don't. I'm sorry. That's all. Yes.
I also have to echo that. I've been on and off the streets for the last 8 years. 5 of them being with a child. My only concern day to day was making sure my child had a safe place to lay their head. That she was warm, she was fed. I gave everything. I sacrificed so much, including my own health, to make sure she was healthy. And it's been hard. I worked my body to the bone. I have gone days and days without sleep to provide money. And it still got me nowhere, because the money I was making wasn't enough. to push forward. It was only enough to survive. And my children deserve better. All children deserve better. Shouldn't have to stress hours and hours on end on where and how you're going to make it. Shouldn't have to worry about whether next week you're going to be there because you didn't have food the week before. Shouldn't have to worry about your home being destroyed while you're at work and coming back to nothing. When you've tried so hard and strived for everything you earn, to just have it ripped from your hands because they didn't want you there. It wasn't your space. Even if it was a public space. I thought the whole point of a public space is that the public could use it for whatever their needs may be. If that includes having a warm place to sleep at night, so you can go to work in the morning and try to better yourself for tomorrow, I think you deserve that. Everyone does. Shouldn't have to struggle so hard to make it nowhere. Going in a circle, head over heels, with no end to the hill in sight. And that's when you really start to lose hope, is when you can't see the end. When there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And you're all alone in the dark, wondering when someone will notice you, hoping that tomorrow's a better day. That's a struggle.
You heard it here, folks. We're fucking tired. We're tired. I'm really grateful so many people came up and shared their experiences of what it's like to be unhoused, what it's like to be tired of shit. Because that's what it's like to be unhoused. It's like chronic fatigue. You just can't get a leg up. The next thing you know, you're just going through shitstorm after shitstorm after shitstorm after shitstorm, and you don't even have a steady place to lay your head. That's what homelessness is. And I think that hearing the stories of people that have been in house can be very eye-opening for folks that have never been there. From this protest and the stories you've heard, from the encampment and the stories you heard and the people you talked to, from the youth march right after the encampment, from city hall meetings with unhoused people speaking, to approve the planning board, to drop CTOs, advocating for themselves, fighting for themselves, almost to no means, to no end. Our struggle is fucking tiring, and I'm not sorry for swearing. This is where all of y'all come in. Stand in solidarity with us, not just right now. Not just right now. I think that's something that allies seem to forget. By all means, do your self-care. Do what you need to take care of yourself, because you're no good for anyone else, or to help anybody else if you're not taking care of yourself. But let me tell you this much. Unhoused people don't have that luxury. It's a basic human need, right? Yes, it is. And it's a luxury, all at the same time. So take the time you need, take care of yourself, eat your meals. But during this, I want you to know that folks are freezing outside. During this, I want you to know people in the shelters are suffering from harassment, sexual assaults, lack of adequate health care, lack of all these things, and just constant chaos. As someone who's been chronically homeless for the past 6 years, I can't even begin to articulate to you everything that I've experienced while being homeless. I cannot. A lot of people know because I'm pretty open about my story, because I honestly feel like if I'm open about my story and I am healing in public and I am vulnerable in public and I am crying in public and I am crying for help in public, other people will do the same. When it comes to joy and justice for joy, you're talking about justice for unhoused people, yes. You're also talking about justice for Indigenous folks. You're talking about how we're currently standing on Wabanaki land and we've yet to do a land acknowledgement for a woman who was Indigenous and froze to death on our streets. Let's take a moment to soak that in, please. Just take like 2 seconds, close your eyes, think on that for a second. Joy's death was an act of colonial violence. Joy's death was an act of capitalistic violence. Joy's death was because of our fucked up mental health system that just allows people to freeze to death and warehouses them in small buildings with not enough room to social distance during a pandemic. It takes our most vulnerable foster children and it allows them to age out of the system and onto the streets and then freeze to death at 46. It takes the most vulnerable children aging out of the foster care system and allows them to be preyed on by predators and narcissistic people that prey on vulnerable human beings. This is the shit we don't talk about, folks. This is it right here. This is coming to you from someone who's been human trafficked twice while being unhoused. This is coming to you from someone who was in the foster care system and then aged out of the foster care system to experience chronic homelessness. This is coming to you from someone who has been taken advantage of in my most vulnerable place as a youth by countless of people. And that's right, I'm fucking preaching it from City Hall. And you know what? I have no desire to live in a system or live in a country that doesn't take care of our most vulnerable people. Anybody else? Y'all ain't amped enough for me, I'm gonna be honest. Y'all ain't amped enough at all. Joy froze to death. Froze to death outside of a gas station.
We need to be heard by the people that say we matter.
We need to be heard by our elected officials who continue to silence us. We need to be heard by people in the State House who continue to go about their business and instead of working with us think they have the answers. We need to be heard by the people on the Senate floor. We need to be heard by whatever president of the United States we have, whether they're orange, whether they're white, whether they're purple, whether they're a motherfucking Oompa Loompa. All right? We need to be heard by everybody. This is a systemic problem. And the longer that we continue with this inaction, the more people that are going to die. The more people that are going to go through these atrocious things with no help and nobody to turn to. The more people that are going to freeze outside of gas stations in our own city. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a city where people freeze to death, especially if they're my friends. Thank you all for coming tonight and standing in solidarity. Do not forget that every second of every day there are people unhoused going through consistent trauma. Do not forget. And do not forget what it's like to be unhoused with severe mental illness or severe PTSD. And I want you to go home and I want you to think about that. Thank you. So just going to give a quick intro of what MPHC is. I'm a co-founder of Maine People's Housing Coalition. I essentially went to Sid about a year ago and I was like, yo, I want to start a movement to end homelessness. I'm tired and I need more people and this is fucked. And Sid was like, yeah, I'm down. So that's kind of like my little debrief about it. But they're going to talk to you about ways to get plugged in, We provide survival kits and survival things to people out on the streets to make sure that they don't freeze to death. We provide weekly distribution. We do peer support, political education, and organizing around city council meetings. Please, get involved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. It's been less than a little more than a year. I think Jess has done a great job so far with a lot of help from a lot of people. So we have a lot of reasons to feel sad and a lot of reasons to feel angry. And it's hard to feel hopeful sometimes. But I think Angela Davis said something like, hope is not a state of mind or a feeling, but it's what happens when you're in community and struggle. So I wanted to give you all some ways that you can join us. So some of the things that we're asking for from the city, demanding, not asking. Repair and reimagine our shelter system. That includes getting rid of criminal trespass orders, which make it so that if folks have a bad day, you can't set foot in a city shelter for a year afterwards. It includes creating an oversight committee or advisory board of people experiencing homelessness and community service providers to advise the city council and staff on changes and improvements. Provide a clear and transparent timeline for construction of the new city shelter. I know a lot of y'all probably spoke at the council meeting on, what was that, Tuesday this week? Thank you for doing that. We're going to keep doing stuff like that. Another one of our demands, guarantee overnight indoor space for anyone who needs it. Treat the crisis of people experiencing homelessness like the emergency that it is. We got some plans for long-term access to housing. We got some plans to make safe consumption sites. We got some plans to defund the police and reallocate funds to essential services.
Yes.
Right, those are just a few of the things. We put a lot of thought into some visions for stuff that we want to see happen in the city. And if you want to help us make those happen, we started to talk to some city councilors, and we definitely need your help. They tend to listen a little louder to rich people than they do to homeless people, so we really do need your help. This Tuesday, sorry, I keep getting out of breath because my mask is sucking into my face. This Tuesday, we got invited to present at the Health and Human Services and Public Safety Committee. Do y'all know what that committee does? We haven't seen a lot of great stuff from them in the past year, but they have the power to improve the shelter system. They have the power to ask for more funding for social services. So we're going to give a quick presentation on what we want at the beginning of that meeting on Tuesday. And we want y'all to come to listen to what folks experiencing homelessness are saying, and then to listen to how they react, and then go from there. We want as many people to hear that meeting as possible. That's going to be at 5:30 on Tuesday. Next thing, as you heard from folks, this work is really tiring, and we got to be here for each other. So we have our mutual aid support network. I think Kate is somewhere over there. Kate's done a great job at plugging a lot of people in to give rent to people, give food, hot meals. We do supply distribution every week. And we actually have a form that you can fill out online that kind of says like what you can help with for our mutual aid support network. And you can sign that form from our Instagram or our Facebook. You can pull out your phone and fill it out right now. And it's got, like, if you can give a ride or if you want to do stuff from home with COVID, there's lots of different ways you can help. And that'll help us keep in touch with you and let you know what's going on. So, who's going to go home and fill out the form?
Yes!
Alright, there's Kate. Everybody give a round of applause for Kate. Thank you, Kate. Alright, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Do you want to say anything else? I think that's it. Thank you so much. much, everybody, for coming.